I decided to start my journey at Little Orme first, as the tide was in. I would paddle just past the headland, and then in about an hour the ebb flow would help me cross the bay to Great Orme. I would stop briefly to admire some rocks packed with fossils before heading back under the pier across the bay to where I began. One of the features of both the Great Orme and Little Orme are these massive limestone blocks, and it was these that enabled the Ormes to be so prominent in the landscape due to their being very resistant to the glaciers during the last ice age. I heard a sudden cry from a gull, and I looked up and saw a peregrine falcon swooping down onto a small bird, possibly a chick. It then took off, circled the area before heading back to the cliffs, presumably to eat its meal. The wildlife around this area is a highlight of any paddle, and it's one reason why I never get bored with canoe trips here. The basic geology of the area, as I've mentioned, is of reef limestones that were formed during the Carboniferous period. Back then Wales was near the equator about 350 million years ago, on the northern edge of a continental shelf. It was basking in warm, clear tropical seas, something that certainly doesn't do now. And it journeyed from about 50 degrees south to its current position of 53 degrees north. Paddling out of the bay, we started around the headland, and you can see in front the cliffs that are a good example of reef limestone. It's also a very popular spot for people to stand and watch and observe the seal colony below. No matter what time of year I paddle around here, you can always be guaranteed to have people stood on those cliffs looking at the seals. It's a great spot for wildlife. Anyway, I'm just at the headland now towards Ross-on-Sea, as you can see there, and I'm just going to turn around and catch the ebb flow over to Great Orme, and just going to watch the seals in the bay. can just see behind me here, as I'm drinking my coffee, you can see the shape of the cliff of Little Orme, and that's the result of the ice's action. It's actually one side of what would be a U-shaped valley. Llandudno is situated in a gap between the Ormes, as you can see, and that gap is actually part of the geological fault line that stretches from the Menai Strait. And the Menai Strait separates Anglesey from the mainland. This part of what's called the Menai Strait fault system has been seismically active for the last 500 million years, and a section of it runs right through Llandudno. The biggest excitement in the area, I think, was in 1984 when a 5.4 Richter scale earthquake hit the Llyn Peninsula, which is on the fault line, making it the biggest earthquake ever recorded on land in the UK. Just over there on the cliffs of Great Orme, you can see that there is a limestone formation about 2/3 of the way up that disrupts the strata. It's usually thought to be a patch reef, which is an isolated deposit of a coral within a lagoon, such as those that you can find in tropical seas, such as in the Maldives. However, a geologist pointed out to me that there appear to be some slope in the layers, and that seems to suggest some infilling, which would happen if it were a blue hole that had been filled in with calcium carbonate and other sediments, as opposed to a patch reef. So there's a PhD for somebody if anybody wants to study it. Ankles, why do they get so numb and painful after kneeling for a couple of hours? Always seems to happen. I took a quick break to stretch my legs and check out the limestone rocks on the beach near Llandudno Pier. These are absolutely packed with fossils, and it shows that the seas here were once full of life, with fossils like brachiopods and crinoids, and you can see that the crinoids are some of those circular stem segments, and there's also corals here, as they were the main reef forming sediments, and they're quite a common, absolutely fascinating area. It had been a great day with good weather, but I had to head back, and all that was left now was just to paddle across the bay with the iconic domes overlooking it. Ankles